Well, Martin-Fitzwater is going to be there, and some people speculated that you should have placed behind him.
What's up, guys, and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. Did the former Miss Olympia Derek Lunsford just hinted that he might do some more shows other than the Arnold as well as the Olympia this time? I have to say he sure did. And there is every reason that Jim Mannion is gonna give Derek a call after watching the episode that was just aired on the Olympia TV in the hopes to convince Derek to do the first ever Pittsburgh Pro in the Men's Open.
If I went there, yeah, it would be to be against that stacked lineup, but also because it's the first Pittsburgh Pro. So we'll see, right? I mean, you always have to just focus on one thing at a time.
So for the past 3 years, Derek has been doing just one show every year, and he himself admitted that he has dedicated these past 2 years building up his physique, and now is his time to compete more and give the bodybuilding fans what they want and also make some money.
That's my advice, Derek. You know I'm right. You know Bob is wrong. You know Chris Cormier.
I think that there's a time to push and go do the shows, a time to pull back and give yourself time to rest and build up the physique. That's what I've been doing the last few years, is building up the physique. Now it's time to push and go. So this year is going to be an exciting year, I promise you.
So this, I believe, is going to be a great year for the men's open bodybuilding, and Pittsburgh Pro in particular. That is going to have one of the deepest lineups if Derek in fact decides to do that show as well. And after listening to his entire interview, he made it very clear that it wasn't a matter of not having enough muscle, enough mass, and that isn't the reason he lost the Olympia. He just overdieted, and there is just no other explanation of why he dropped down to 3rd place. And all he has to do at this point is to pick up the pace and not repeat those same mistakes. Now that being said, just imagine the lineup for the first ever Pittsburgh Pro. Derek, Martin, Regan Grimes, Lassing Avodibu, Michael Krizo, and last but not least, the mutant Nick Walker. So these are some of the names that we can all expect to see in the Pittsburgh Pro, competing for that $100,000. And they are some of the biggest names in the industry. And this will also settle this debate on whether Martin-Fitzwater is anywhere close to beating Derek Lunsford, especially if Derek is truly on. Because Derek had a plain and simple answer to everyone who all thought that Martin could have beaten him at this past Miss Olympia. So the results of 2024 Miss Olympia was a very hard pill to swallow for Derek. But maybe he's setting himself for this great comeback. And I don't think anyone should count him out.
Well, Martin-Fitzwater is going to be there, and some people speculated that you should have placed behind him. What do you think about that?
No, just no.
So there are many great rivalries to talk about for 2025. And one of the most interesting one, that is gonna be Nick Walker versus Martin-Fitzwater. Because a vast majority of the bodybuilding community, they believe now that Martin has progressed enough and he has made such improvements from this year's New York Pro that Nick Walker won't be able to beat him next year. So the same question was asked to the mutant, and his confidence, just like always, that is sky high. And he makes a very solid point here. The New York Pro version of Nick Walker, that was very underwhelming for all of us and for the mutant himself as well. Now it is a guarantee that the New York Pro physique of Nick Walker, that just would not have placed top 5 at this past Miss Olympia. But still, that was good enough to beat a very good version of Martin at that time. So it seems like Nick Walker has been very comfortable working with his new coach. And we are all hoping to see him at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro, hopefully at his all-time best, although he hasn't announced that just yet. Now he did promise that he is gonna compete in a bigger show, a show where we have a lot of big competitors. So there has been a lot of changes made in Nick Walker's diet ever since he started working with Kyle Wilkes. So the aim right now is to bring Nick's waist in as small as they possibly can, and at the same time improve his outer quad sweep. So this is gonna be a high pressure comeback, and Nick seems ready for it. Next up, we have the recent physique update from Hunter Labrada, which is from today. So it was kind of disappointing to see, or not to see his name in the official Arnold list, because that, I have got to say, is a great spot to be in at about 10 weeks out of the show. And the thing is, before the Olympia this year, he was very fired up to compete at this upcoming Arnold. So does Hunter need more size? I have got to say, not after what we saw at this past Miss Olympia. What I mean by that is if he can stand next to the former Miss Olympia Hadi Choopan, who is undoubtedly one of the most muscular men, especially for his frame, in the current era of bodybuilding, and still compares so damn well. That simply means that Hunter doesn't need any more size. So a few years ago, Hunter was criticized for not having a good back, and that was a major gap in his physique. But he has significantly closed that gap big time. He brought up his back big time in the last couple of years. And now there is just one more gap, and that is the abs area. Because the one thing that Hunter desperately needs, they are deeper and more separated abs. Now that is gonna make some of his front shots way more impressive and way more dangerous. Now that vacuum worked great in Hunter's favor at this past Miss Olympia. Because not only that is a super way to showcase great abdominal control, but also hide a weakness. And many competitors out there, they utilize this strategy. So Hunter at this past Miss Olympia prejudging was just so damn good and so impressive that he was beating Andrew Jack and he was very close to Martin. And that just goes to show us that for him to move up the ranks, it isn't about bringing up a certain muscle group. It is more about peaking 100% for the show and at the same time hold that look that he had initially at the Olympia prejudging. Next up, we have a very big off-season physique update from Stefon, who claims to be weighing 286 pounds in this recent update. Now, his current weight, that just makes you feel that he was just wasting his time in classic physique category, because it hasn't even been 6 months since Stefon made up his mind that he is gonna pursue the men's open bodybuilding, and he has blown up so damn fast, and he is big as a house right now. Now, don't get me wrong. He still has a long way to go till he is extremely competitive in the men's open, and he will have to prove his worth and how good he is in an open show. But whenever he decides to step on the stage next year, that will definitely be his most competitive and most muscular package to date. Now, even looking at some of his classic physique preps, there was a point when Stefan was weeks out of the show where he looked at his all-time best because he was still holding on to all that muscle, all that pop, and all that wow factor. So this is definitely gonna be a new version of him that these guys are making right now. And the man is very young, so he has got a lot of time on his hands. And he can just continue to get bigger and just do a show sometime in the later part of next year. Next up, we have the off-season physique update of Antoine Vaillant. So this is him at 300 pounds, which seems like a comfortable weight for him. Now this statement itself, that is absolutely wild, because back in the day, there were hardly a few bodybuilders who would go as high as 300 pounds, especially in the off-season. And as of right now, there are at least 6 or 7 guys who weigh 300, and Antoine is also one of them. So the last show that Antoine did, that was the Arnold Classic UK this year. Now, I think he looked a lot better in Ohio. In fact, there won't be any exaggeration in saying that his Arnold Ohio version, that physique, that was the best look of his entire career. So fast forward to the end of this year. Will Antoine compete next year and have a go at the Olympia qualification? Maybe for one last time before he hangs up the posing trunks. Because at this point it is a fact that he will only be doing this for just a few more years and just for the love of competing. Because he's also a father now, and he made it crystal clear in the caption that he will definitely die down and see how he looks and whether it makes sense to continue to compete or not. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.